All right, so we appear to be live, and while I set up and cross post everywhere we need to go, I am going to go ahead and ask you all, what are you most excited about this summer?
I'll go first. The one thing hello, my name is Reed Thomas, and the one thing I'm really excited this summer is I'm gonna be attending a jazz camp in about a week and a half to learn some fun stuff near at Shenandoah University. And it's gonna be a fun place to be.
Oh, fun. Is that overnight?
So there is a community. It is overnight at the dorm, but what I'm gonna do, since I'm close to that college, I'm gonna be commuting, come back and forth. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I'm not a cat, but I am sad to go about it.
Hello, my name's Jack Brent, and I have a Shenandoah Valley accent.
I see this when the back new
So Sheila is with me to provide communication support.
and look forward to outside and the beautiful world.
And I am looking forward to being outside and enjoying the beautiful weather.
Nice. What about you, Lynn?
So I'm Lynn Sutter, and I am looking forward to, similar to Jack, I think beautiful weather and hanging out with friends. I have some dates with friends coming up, so looking forward to that. Yeah.
Excellent. And I don't even know. I'm just glad that distance learning is over for my gang for now, because that, my friends, is a nightmare. And on that note, actually, speaking of nightmares, let's be real. This COVID pandemic has been an absolute nightmare, but we kind of have some light at the end of the tunnel, and that's why we're here. The Center for Disability Leadership and the Center for Family Involvement, we want to talk to you about the COVID vaccine. And this is our very first in a series of Facebook Live events where we're going to discuss it. We know that there is a lot of confusion out there about it. This is our chance to learn more from people with disabilities, because this pandemic has affected the disability community much more greatly than kind of the rest of the world. So we want to talk about what the myths are. We want to talk about what's real. We want to talk about what's absolutely false. And that's why we're joined here by Jack Bratt, Lynn Fetter, and Reeve Thomas. And so we want to start off with Jack. Why don't you give us a quick overview of what CDL is doing?
Thank you, Erin.
The products for people with disabilities.
Earlier this year, the Partnership for People with Disabilities
And the budget for people with disabilities.
and the Virginia Board for People with Disabilities issued a series of fact sheets
The first one is information about the vaccine.
The first one is information about the
The
vaccine.
second, I'm safe. And
The second one's around safety.
the about where to get the vaccine.
Is about where to get the vaccine.
We are about to get ready to issue a vaccine on a proof.
We're about to get a fact sheet ready on the approval process for the vaccine.
And because there was confusion and misinformation out,
Because there was some confusion and some misinformation out there.
and it gave this both this family
And you can Google the Center for Disability Leadership.
The past, oh, oh,
And the fact sheets are on the homepage.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jack. Lynn, let's start with you. Can you tell us something that you've learned about the vaccine?
Well, I've learned that it's pretty effective against COVID, and that if you get vaccinated, you're pretty protected, and that most people who get sick and have to be hospitalized or die in large numbers, those are the people who have not been vaccinated. And so I learned that getting vaccinated is really important because it helps to keep us safe and healthy.
And do you know anything about how the vaccine was developed?
Yeah, so people called scientists, they got together and they said, we have to make a vaccine against this because this virus is deadly, and they got together and some companies helped to make a vaccine. They tested it on people, and there were different levels of testing. They started out small, and then as people passed the tests and the vaccine was safe, then they tested it on larger groups of people. And then there's a federal agency called the Food and Drug Administration. When everybody passed all of the tests, then they said, okay, we, the Food and Drug Administration, are going to say that these vaccines can be administered to people to protect them against COVID-19.
Thank you, Lynn. And actually, and what's interesting too, if you ever want to know more about like some of the super geeky science about it, like the New York Times, The Daily has done a bit, like this actual scientist that came up with the vaccine, mRNA, the technology for it, had to fight for it for years. Like it started in the 70s. It's a really interesting story, and it just kind of, it makes you think about perseverance and advocacy and you know, much of the work that we do every day. So anyway, so Reeve, you know, I put your bio in the comments, but if you want to kind of introduce yourself a little bit and then also tell us about your experience with the vaccine.
Yes, so I am, it's very, thank you, Erin. It's been great to be with Jack and Lynn talking about vaccines. Just to give a little quick bio, I'm an attorney youth leader, and as co-founder with the Virginia Department of Education, I'm also as well with the Inclusion Project, and as part of Virginia Department of Education, I've actually as well helped with the Virginia Department of Education eligibility and stakeholder group to review criteria worksheets for the state of Virginia to help people classify disabilities and how to help them with that. So that's a little quick my bias. So how to get the vaccine? Simple answer. There are about 90% of around the United States of America, you can get your shot at your local pharmacy. And it's really important because those people were actually, it's for free, no charge. And as for me, it's really important. And from my experience, I actually, there was a big clinic at our Shenandoah University, which they had a big track and field center for mass vaccination site. And I went there because I want to make sure that I don't die from COVID and I can survive from COVID and how to return decency of normalcy. And I've gotten a lot of my friends are disability. they get vaccinated. And that's the most important thing. And there's actually a lot of ways to go, because I've actually seen other of my friends of mine getting their families vaccinated as well. Because if you actually have a ripple effect of people getting vaccinated, you will get vaccinated. Trust me. Science is safe.
Reed, it's funny. So, I'm 40 something and I haven't talked about peer pressure in ages, but when we talk about high school, we talk about peer pressure. So can you tell me a little bit about how that works when it comes to the vaccine?
Yes, I actually can say that. So there was one time one of my friends was thinking about the vaccine. I got the vaccine, and then one of our other friends got the vaccine. And I had one of my other friends not thinking about getting the vaccine. And then then he was starting to debate it. Then my brother got the vaccine. So then he's leaning about getting the vaccine. And the day before my graduation party, he actually got the vaccine, and his mom too. And it's really great, because if you just get people just to get vaccinated, just for you, other people will get it, because actually if they trust you to get it, they will get it. It's just there's certain news articles and other places that are spreading really misinformation. Trust the scientists. The scientists are there for you. And the people that are misdemeanors and people that are really just don't think well, don't listen to them. Just get vaccinated. That's a simple thing to do.
Thanks, Reeve. I very much agree. Lynn, can you tell us more about why it's important for people to get vaccinated?
Yeah, I think because, well, one, practically, we want to get back to normal, right? I mean, obviously there's going to be a pre-COVID normal and a post-COVID normal. But we want things to be as normal as possible so we can get back to our lives. So things, I know, Aaron, earlier you were talking about how, having to do virtual school is a pain. And you can, after everyone gets vaccinated, you can all, go back to school, go back to work. So I think, that's really, for me, besides the fact that, if you get vaccinated, that protects you against being hospitalized and dying. The other side is things will get normal mostly again if we get vaccinated. And so, I think it's important to think about that and think about each other. And when we do get back to relative normalcy, think about protecting each other. Yeah.
Thanks, Lynn. And I would like to add with this one, I am the mother of 3 young children who aren't eligible because they're under the age of 12. They cannot get vaccinated yet. So my family cannot return to normal, but the sooner that everybody else gets vaccinated, the sooner they can, if that makes sense. We talk a lot about herd immunity and how the more people who are vaccinated, the safer all of us can be. And, my one son has some immune system issues. So even if he gets vaccinated, he's not going to be all protected. He needs other people to be vaccinated to be safe. So yeah, there's so much to this, isn't there?
Can I have one thing?
Yeah.
And also, I can say to your son, I actually had immune systems. There was actually a certain time that my mom did not want me to get the flu shot. And we talked about, because of my medical history, I did not do well with shots. So we talked about it, and, I got the flu shot and the COVID shot because, I want to be safe from it. And it was my first time ever taking a flu shot, probably in a long time. But here's the thing, I'm used to it now, and, I just think, just shots in general, like measles, Ebola, you got Ebola outbreaks, any other breaks out there, even the Spanish flu. For example, my church actually has these glass containers. Main reason they got that because of the Spanish flu. And that dates back from a long time ago. And I think that's why they are preventing like flus, other diseases. And that's what another idea, that's what my church has done. And my church has been very supportive, and I bet, and if you have a local leader, just talk to the local leaders and tell them this vaccine is safe. If everything's good, or it's all good in our hands.
There you go. Well, and it's a nice thing to remember that getting the vaccine does something for yourself, but you're also helping others. And you're like doing something for the community. And so speaking of the community, Jack, can you tell us why it's so important for the disability community to know about the vaccine?
Yes.
For the disability community.
It's important for the disability community
About the facts and get accurate information.
to know about the vaccine and to give them accurate information.
Because a lot of people with disabilities have some type of pre-existing
Because a lot of people with disabilities have a lot of pre-existing, may have a pre-existing condition.
we talk to our friends about the vaccine.
And we need to talk to our friends about the vaccine.
You know somebody that doesn't want the vaccine.
If you know someone who does not want to get the vaccine,
So listen to that. So
you should listen to their concerns
validate
and validate them
tried for the information.
and try to point them to the correct information.
As we very warrior, the best way to get people vaccinated is conversation.
And as Reeve said earlier, the best way to get people vaccinated is by conversation
With people that you
with people that you trust.
it might take a while, but that is like any relationship.
It might take a while, but that's with any relationship.
People do have
And people do have valid concerns.
And so speaking of those valid concerns, you know, it's the history, right, of individuals with disabilities in this country is just sort of full of stories about abuse by the medical community and by others. So I kind of want to touch on that next. I also want to add before we do that if anyone has any questions, you can ask them in the comments, and those fact sheets that we've mentioned about the vaccine are in the comments. So, you know, Jack, why don't we start with you? Can we talk about the hesitancy when we think about the history of people with disabilities in the medical field?
Thank
Thank you, Aaron.
The law is true of people experiment on people with disabilities.
There's a long history of people who have experimented on people with disabilities.
Date back to colonial
Dating back to the colonial times.
the first the first asylum.
Virginia had the first lunatic asylum.
People boys, they were better against the knowledge of
And people were experimenting on the patients without their knowledge or consent.
able to test but gender other studies
Over the decades, Virginia and other states
percentage for the people mind.
for the feeble-minded, they set up institute for the feeble-minded and idiots, and they set up institutions.
That with that term knowledge,
And since that time, we don't use that terminology anymore.
but the voice made against some people will force style.
But they were forced without their consent, and some people were forcibly sterilized.
Gun we done the more
We don't do it anymore.
of that agreements that we passed with the can that
After World War II, there was an agreement developed where we treat patients with dignity and respect.
that rules that prevent abuse.
And there are rules now that prevent abuse.
We did. We able that, but we might people that we can't.
We need to be respectful of the fact that this happened, but then also recognize that we have come so far.
When unbiased information.
And we need to provide unbiased information.
Jack, that's so poignant. And it's funny to hear some of the words you're using, by the way, when we say idiot and feeble-minded, and how people use the term idiot now without even thinking about it and how hurtful it is. But that's neither here nor there. You know, when you talk about this, you have me thinking about how we've kind of come the other way, where, you know, there was experiments on people with disabilities, and now sometimes we have to fight to get the proper medical care. So I think we need to touch on that as well. But I before we move to that though, to stay on this, you know, Lynn and Reeve, Jack is so immersed in the history of this, but how about you? What comments do you have about the way that the medical field has treated people with disabilities, and then how it applies to this vaccine?
Yeah. So I do want to say, I think, you know, well, I think we know that, you know, abuse still does from time to time happen, and that's, you know, that's why this concern, I think, is a valid one presently. However, there are, as Jack was saying, protections ethics and different codes that ensure that ensure how people with disabilities are supposed to be treated. And so, and there's ways to, if you're worried about abuse, go with someone that you trust. So, you have a witness. Have someone be there to speak up for you if you feel like you can't speak up for yourself, if you're going to have a hard time with that. It's just finding ways to make sure that, in a medical setting where you might distrust medical professionals, thinking about ways to deal with that, mostly maybe by bringing other people that you trust with you. That's the thing that comes off the top of my head, definitely.
Reeve, is there anything you would like to add?
Just one little thing. As a person of me with a disability, there's certain things, that go in history of time. But there's a way, that there's certain things, there has to be, so the one thing with the vaccine, everything, there needs to be governability. Because if you have governability, I think, if both sides are saying, get the vaccine, work something together, or help disability works. And there are just certain things that that can help us, with the governability, or if it's not even just politics, just simple matter of work, just our general life, just to say hello to a person with a disability, say how you're doing, bud. That's a good thing. you know, there are words today that can, miss people with disabilities, but with the people with disabilities, they actually work harder. They're the ones that strive, they learn, and they survive anything. And just to make sure is just, as a person with disability, I'm an autistic advocate and ADHD and learning disability advocate. And I want to make sure that people in the disability world, even if they feel like they can't say what the disability is, they have a visual, and they have invisible and they have invisible disabilities. And the disability history, I think there are certain things we have to held accountable and make sure we have respect.
Right on, Reeve. And sometimes someone may have a visible disability, but also an additional disability that's invisible. There's so much to it. And we should also add, the nuances of intersectionality. So here we are, I believe we're all white, it appears on the screen. We need to talk about how race and culture and religion impact that. And we do have a talk in the works. We're just trying to set a date where we're going to talk about that intersectionality and how it affects medical care and the vaccine. And we can't wait to bring that up, because that is probably an even more important discussion that we really need to touch on. And I do want to, I want to take a moment. This isn't on one of the questions that we had sculpted out, but before we get to the final question, I want to remind everyone that if you have a question, if you're watching right now, you can ask. If you're watching this at another time, you can reach out to the Center for Disability Leadership or the Center for Family Involvement. There's information in the comments, there's information on the Facebook page. We are here to help you in any way we can. And I just want to touch on, before we move to that last question, how, if someone feels like their doctor is not answering their questions sufficiently when it comes to this vaccine, if any of you have any pointers. I need to advocate for my own son, and I find that to be very, very stressful. Doctors are not gods. You have to find a doctor that works for you and not be afraid to question them or switch a doctor. But you, as self-advocates, as personal advocates, but also advocates for yourselves and for your peers, what recommendations do you have for individuals who are seeking medical care and seeking this vaccine?
And if you don't mind, I'm going to go first. So when I said earlier, governability, or anything like that, that's the way to go right now. Because right now, we're so divided up right now. What's the world right now? What do you think? The main point is that if we work together in this crisis, we can be normal again. And I mean it. It doesn't matter who you are, gender, equality, your whatever you feel who you are. You can get the vaccine and you're accepted. You're not rejected. And I say to anybody with my disability peers, then they know they got the vaccine, or my friends on Facebook or on any of my social media accounts, you should get vaccinated. It doesn't matter who you are. You can get it for free. Go get the vaccine. And it's snazzy too.
Well, Erin, that's a great pep talk, Reeve, first of all. I love that. Everybody go get vaccinated. Reeve is a champion of this. But I think in terms of advocating for yourself, sometimes I go into a doctor's office, for example, and for example, I went to the eye doctor the other day, and the doctor started talking in really technical terms. So I was like, wait a minute. And one term that you can use that I find really helpful is just to say, okay, slow down. And you can tell them to slow down, and then you say, well, what does that mean? And then they kind of have to think about, okay, how do I explain this to this person? And sometimes they don't. Sometimes, they just keep talking, and that's maybe a sign that, you need to get a different doctor or be more firm with them. Maybe start saying something like, I don't understand. Can you help me understand this? What does that mean? Keep asking them, what does this mean? What does that mean? I don't understand. Kind of just asking questions, but even just saying things, just a sentence I don't understand, just being able to keep saying those things if you don't understand what they're saying, so they're forced to come up with, because really it's about creativity. Explaining health concepts to people is, a lot of times it's about, how can I explain this in a creative way so that somebody will understand it? And a lot of times doctors are hurried, and they have a lot of, notes to write, and a lot of appointments to be at, and a lot of insurance companies to call. Sometimes they don't want to slow down and explain things to people, but it's really necessary. And so, to kind of get them to slow down and be creative about explaining things is always a good thing.
We had a great job.
Reeve and Lynn did a great job.
And they stopped in this law.
And they're stars in this life.
I want to call other people to have conversation with you for me.
And I want to encourage everyone to have conversations with your friends
And
and family
about the vaccine.
about the vaccine.
If you don't agree, that's all right.
If you don't agree, that's all right.
We listen to each other and support what they are.
We should listen to each person and support them where they're at.
Ask questions. When not done, the can look up on a reliable source.
We should listen to them and answer their questions. And if I don't know the answer, I go look it up on a reliable source.
That it see that
Such as cdc.gov
I talked to my doctor.
or talk to my doctor
Oh, it's no
or his nurse.
doctor. Oh, very busy.
Doctors are very busy.
The nurses are knowledgeable and the pop more of the no.
And the nurses are very knowledgeable and
You pop
and you probably see the nurse more than the doctor.
the
So they can be a resource.
conversation.
Just have conversations.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you all for taking that like out of left field. I think it's really important. And I think it's important, a lot of what you said, Lynn, I want to reiterate, ask them to slow down. We all get, I think, in our own field, we get into the jargons and we just spit out words that we're so used to, but it's new to those who are not. And so it's important to remember that and push back when the medical community kind of comes at us with terms that they're used to, but we're not. You'd think that'd be in the training, but it's just lacking. As we know in what we do. So listen, last question. What is a way to encourage people to get vaccinated? Reeve, you ready?
Yes, I'm snazzy ready. Anyway, I said earlier, going back to earlier, about my experience, I went there the first day because I trust the science. It's okay if you don't trust science yet, because I know there are people that don't agree with me at times. But, take your time, listen to people that do know the facts. Do not go to conspiracy theories, because there are a lot of conspiracies out there that can definitely toll your life for sure. And listen to us here. We have all great experiences. We all gotten the shots. I got the Pfizer and I took a 1-dose regimen. I could took the Johnson Johnson, but because of my medical needs, I took in a 1-dose regimens. And those 1-dose regimens actually helped me with the vaccine. There's other ways for people to get it. There's vaccines coming right now that are new. But, there's people all over the world can get the vaccines, just it's less than a mile from your door. And even when we do, just get vaccinated. And it's just been great to talk with Lynn, Jack, and Aaron. And also it's been a snazzy, awesome presentation.
Lynn, you want to go next?
Yeah. I think Ruth is really good at these little get vaccinated pep talks. But I think, yes, get vaccinated. I also would say to encourage people to get vaccinated. Just do it yourself. And then something I've seen that people have been doing is they'll go on social media and they'll say, oh, look, I got the vaccine, like for a little bit at least. Vaccine selfies are really popular. I think that trend has died down a little bit as the vaccine initial craze has kind of died down, but it still is important to keep doing that. If you haven't gotten vaccinated yet, go get your vaccine and maybe post something on social media, updating people on, okay, these are my side effects. I only got, for example, me, I only got, I was tired for a day, and that was it, back to normal life. So just in terms of encouraging people, just do it yourself, and then just kind of think about ways how to talk to others about like your experience, and I think that's probably the best way. And then like Jack said, like if people have questions and concerns, saying, okay, I can understand that. Like, would you like some more information about that? I have that for you. Kind of just encouraging that way. I think those are some of the ways that I can think of off the top of my head, kind of how to encourage people.
If we go really quick, but just so and thanks for Lynn reminding me of your vaccine. You know, I should go say mine as well, just very quick. I had first time soreness, and then the second time I got like a little like brain like fatigue, but yeah, you will survive and thrive, and it also will be good just to get that vaccine. So that's all I need to say.
Jack, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah. I got Moderna.
I got Moderna.
I had Moderna.
And I had a little rash.
And I forgot
I was tired for a couple days.
be in the ice
It beats being in the ICU
on then
on a ventilator.
I was in the oxygen
And I've been in the ICU on a ventilator a couple of times.
and
It's not a fun trip.
I want to avoid that.
And I want to avoid that, so I got the vaccine.
And you probably tired of it. But
You're probably tired of hearing me say this, but have a conversation with others.
and validate
And validate their concerns.
be honest and respectful to each other during
And be honest and respectful of each other's during these times.
And I know I'm the moderator here, but I want to add, you know, it's tougher. Like I mentioned earlier, my family, I have 3 young children. My oldest is 10 and he has a lot of medical stuff going on. And so, you know, when you have these conversations, when someone says it's a personal choice, you know, remind them that their personal choice affects other people. I know that there's fears and I understand it as well. And there are side effects. I was actually quite sick. Both shots of Pfizer, I got quite sick. But I knew why I was sick. It was actually a chance to lay in bed all day for a couple of days and drink a lot of ginger ale. And the second time preparing for it, I was actually like, I planned that I didn't have to work. And, you know, it was like a day to just relax, even though I didn't feel well. And so people are asking about that. I mean, my husband lied and said, not to work. He lied to me and said he was sick so he could go upstairs and like not do anything. So, you know, there are opportunities there to just like use the vaccine as a reason to just get out of any duties you have at home. You know, have it on a Friday and just take the weekend in bed, you know? But yeah, I think it's just really important to remember that it's not just about you. It's really not. And there are variants out there right now that are very, very dangerous. And even if you're vaccinated, you can still get this and transmit it. Having the vaccine means that you will likely not get sick, or it'll just be like having a mild cold, but you can still spread it even if you're vaccinated. So get vaccinated to protect others. Get vaccinated, even if you're spreading it. I know that that's counterintuitive, but the less symptomatic you are, the less that you're going to cough it into the air. There's just so many reasons. And like, think of my beautiful children. Think of my friends' beautiful children who might not be able to go to school in the fall because we're still not at herd immunity. Think of others as well as yourself. And remember, any questions you have, Jack and I, Center for Disability Leadership, Center for Family Involvement, we're happy to answer any questions. Does anyone on this beautiful panel have anything they want to add? No? All right, well then we're gonna wrap it up and do that awkward Facebook Live goodbye and see you next time.
Thanks all. See ya.
Bye.